Good afternoon, market wrap number 195. Stuart Williamson here at the helm. So 10% per annum plus CPI annual increases plus 1%. No management fees. Too good to be true? This week we finished our client mingle and networking events in Singapore with around 50 people attending at the Tower Club in Raffles Place. One of the clients who came along asked me about social housing investments. He had been offered 15% annual income and 10% on another property. So definitely worth investigating. Let's look into this. Now the big picture, investing billions in social housing would save the taxpayer money, according to the Financial Times, over the longer term, by cutting benefit payments and health costs, according to research by England's National Housing Federation and the charity Shelter. The upfront cost of 11.8 billion to the government of building 90,000 new social homes will be paid back within 11 years through savings on public services and extra tax revenue, according to a report which was published just on Tuesday. The findings follow a report on house building by the UK competition watchdog on Monday that found an over-reliance on private developments had resulted in too few homes being built while the country grapples with the national housing shortage. Building more social homes is a win-win solution. It would immediately boost the construction industry, supporting thousands of jobs, and will save the government and taxpayer money over the longer term, said Kate Henderson, the NHF chief executive. The government has set a target of building 300,000 new homes a year in England alone, which it failed to meet last year, adding about 230,000. The Competition and Markets Authority said historically that 300,000 target had only been met when councils were providing a significant supply of new housing. The NHF, which represents housing associations and Shelter, called on politicians to commit to building 90,000 social homes, the number they say is needed annually to resolve the housing crisis. England actually lost 11,700 social homes last year as sales and demolitions outpaced construction. Meanwhile, investment in new social housing is falling, with 1.3 million households stuck on waiting lists as homelessness has risen sharply. Many local councils have been forced to spend more on temporary accommodation and homelessness services, adding strain to their finances. We all heard about these hotels that are full with asylum seekers. We've now got homeless people filling them up as well. Reducing the bill by building more social homes would save taxpayers 4.5 billion over 3 decades, the report carried out by the consultancy CEBR found. A further 4.5 billion would be saved in housing benefits. The research projects 51.2 billion in overall economic benefits, including employment boost from extra construction, tax revenue, and savings in the NHS due to people living more healthy lifestyles and therefore in a healthier environment. So it's good for the economy. But what sort of social housing is available in the UK? Basically, you have council housing, also known as local authority housing, is owned and managed by local government authorities. Housing associations. Basically, these are known as registered social landlords, are independent non-profit organisations that provide affordable housing. They are separate from the local authorities and manage their own housing stock. Housing association properties are similar to council housing in terms of affordable rent and long-term tenancies. Shared ownership. Shared ownership is a type of social housing where a household purchases a share, usually 25 to 75%, of the property and pays the rent on the remaining portion. This allows people to get onto the housing ladder with a low deposit and mortgage, and they can gradually increase the share of their ownership over time, known as staircasing. Supported housing. This provides accommodation and support services for vulnerable individuals, such as people with physical or mental disabilities, the elderly, or survivors of domestic violence. These properties may have an additional facilities and staff to assist residents with specific needs. Then you have temporary accommodation, which is short-term social housing, so council housing, provided to individuals and families facing homelessness or who urgently need housing, victims of domestic abuse, that sort of thing. It offers short-term solutions until a more permanent housing option becomes available. Sheltered housing, also known as retirement homes or extra care housing. These are for retirees as a rule. Community-led housing communities. These are projects and initiatives driven by local communities to develop and manage their own affordable housing solutions. These projects may involve social housing. So who pays for social housing in the UK? Social housing in the UK is paid for a variety of different sources, which is basically the government, the local authorities and housing associations. What are the positives of social housing? You buy into social housing, you're going to have no maintenance and no management costs. So none of this 10%, 12% to a management agent to look after it. It's hands-free. So you do nothing at all. It's got high social impact. It's got secure returns. Secure returns, it can be up to a 25-year lease. And the high yield is due to the high need for social housing in the UK, and it often results in long waiting lists for social rented properties. It's diversification in your portfolio means you can go into other things than purely buy to let. An FRI lease agreement. This is basically where the landlord shifts responsibility for property maintenance completely to the tenant, and it's all written into the lease. And this will save you a lot of costs. So there's a lot less management fee, a lot of service costs. It's a long-term investment. That may suit you or it may not. It's sustainable and it's eco-friendly. In the UK, numerous social housing projects are constructed with sustainability as a priority, incorporating eco-friendly materials and designs. You're not going to have this environmental protection certificate issue in 2032. What are the negatives? Limited choice of location. One of the significant challenges facing social housing projects is where they're going to be. Basically they're going to be in rundown, more poorer areas, because they're the areas that need this sort of social housing. So it means your resale value, your appreciation is going to potentially be less than a normal buy-to-let. Centre of Manchester compared to centre of Sunderland perhaps. Restrictions on renting social housing. In the UK, social housing can only go to local authorities. You can't put it on the free market, so you are restricted. Although you do get a guarantee, that's all you can do with it. You can't kick them out and put private people in. It's not allowed. Legal costs and taxes. Buying social housing can be quite expensive because you have to go through all the different legal angles. In some cases you don't even know who your tenants are going to be, and you've got to sign disclaimers saying you're not going to look into it, you're not allowed to visit the property in case they are immigrants who are social risk. Cash only buyers. It's very difficult to obtain lending on a social housing investment. Poor appreciation, as I said, by the very nature of where they are, can lead to some of the poorest appreciation. Poor maintenance. You do see headlines like this in The Guardian: concerns raised over squalid Serco asylum seeker housing in Derby. Council arranging inspection as photos have shown missing plaster, rubble in shower, holes in ceilings, things like that. So you have got these poor management because the government does outset the management to people like Serco and G4. So are they a good option? Basically it's all about due diligence. You've got to do your research, find out who else is doing it, get some good advice. The 15% that was suggested is actually a loan note where they're raising cash to do the refurb on properties and buy them. I asked what track record they had on this loan note. They had none at all. So I think that's definitely a no, because you don't have a track record, you can't show anything. 10% supported living. This was a development in Burnley. It's called Ashfield House, and it is actually giving 10% plus CPI plus 1% annually, and a potential 3-year buyback at plus 30% to the purchase price, with a company that has done this many times before. So that in that case, it's a yes as far as an investment. So if you'd like to find out more, click on the link here. That's all about social housing. And if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing at APW, click on the link here. That's Market Wrap number 195. Hope you enjoyed it. Do take care. Cheerio.